We're back. So much popular demand that we had to bring it back. Landon's Lucrative Learnings, Episode 2, While Loops. This is essentially the next step after you learn statements. You gotta learn loops because they're used all the time as well. And they're slightly more complicated, so it's important to learn them to be a good programmer. Alright. What is a while loop? While loops are all about repetition, repeating a process. They work similarly to an if statement, except they continue to run as long as the condition is true. If you recall, an if statement does not run continually. It runs once if the condition is true. This will continue to run when the condition is true. This means if the condition ever turns false, the loop breaks, and if it never turns false, the loop never breaks and repeats over and over and over again. Usually trying to avoid when that happens. So while loops are good to use if you don't know how many iterations you will have, right? So if you're searching for a number of iterations, essentially, like if you don't know, example, if you were looking through a list and you did know how long the list was, it wouldn't really be most practical to use a while loop. This is more if you don't know, like if you're given an I value from a scanner or an integer and you don't know what value they got because they picked it, you would want to use a while loop if you were looking for a range or something. Let's continue on. Parts of a while loop. The test expression is the condition, the top, which evaluates at the start of the loop and after each iteration. And the update expression increments or decrements the loop variable. It's often labeled as I++, but it can be whatever. I is just an example of a variable. But yeah, for the condition to change, the variable must change inside of the loop because that's the only thing running. Here is common syntax. Over here we have, on the left side we have an example. And on the right side here, we have a more like, I gave an example. This is on the left side. This is like the raw syntax. This is an example where we're looking at how many carrots we've collected, and we only want less than 7 carrots to be collected for that day because you don't want to take all the carrots out of the ground. So if today we've already collected 3, don't collect more than 7. So you can only collect 3 more because it's less than 7. And the real world impact, they're all over the place. The concept dates back to the 1950s because it's essentially as old as programming or high level programming languages are. If I were waiting at a red light, or if you were waiting at a red light, an if statement wouldn't suffice in that situation only because it would tell you what the light is at right now. If I ask if the light turns red, stop. If the light turns green, go. That works. But if I test that at a certain point and the light is red and I'm already stopped, that the code wouldn't be helpful because it's not continually checking for a change. It's just checking at that point when I run the code. And like I said, you can't go back. So in that case, a while loop continuously checks, is it still red? Is it still red? Okay, it's green, now go. So there you go. Thank you for listening. I know it was a great presentation.